The next speaker is Mr. Julien Coulon from the French company Cedexis. Cedexis was, and my name is Henri Michel Rosenboom. I'm the general manager of Eurocloud in France. Cedexis was created 3 years ago, and now you start business also in United States and in UK. You are usually introducing yourself as a multi-cloud expert. And your main message is, I will use a French popular proverb. I have to translate, of course, in English. Do not put all your eggs in one basket. Okay.
That's my grandma who told me that all the time.
Okay, fine. So everyone here is in this room is using internet, yes? And what we do not accept anymore is waiting. We do not want to wait to get the information. And here is the added value, or the main added value of Cedexis. Cedexis helps its customer to reduce the latency time. So, please, Mr. Julien Coulon, could you explain how Cedexis achieve this target and is successful into improving the availability and the performance of the websites of your customers? Please, thank you.
Thank you very much. With such an introduction, I don't have much to say anymore. So I'm gonna try to explain you very quickly what Cedexis is doing, but also, of course, showing you some examples of multi-cloud strategy. And so our goal is very simple. So we just won the award of the best cloud startup France 2012, and 2 weeks ago the innovation for top 250, Syntec, Les Echos, Ernst & Young. So our goal is, just to summarize, this morning I had no voice, so it's coming. I hope I will be able to make the 30 minutes. So we have 5 goals. First is improve performance. That's main point. Second is optimizing cost of the delivery, cost of the multi-cloud, cost of the data centers. Third is provide an end-user vision of how your site or your mobile site, your application perform from every single network in the world. 4, as you may know, Google is looking at the website and crawling the website, and performance is taken into account to emphasize your Google ranking. And 5, it's availability, which means not availability from a server point of view, because the server might work well, but from an end-user vision. And sometimes, it's the internet, you know. Sometimes if someone tries to connect to an application, there is a piece in the value chain that is missing, and they never get access to the information. So, really quick, well, this one, sorry. Really, it's confusing to have 2 computers. So, very quickly, we launched the company in mid-2009. We are really specialized in what's below the iceberg of the internet. We come from Akamai, from Dailymotion, from Cisco, from Jive Networks. That's the type of team. On the 27 people, we have around 25 who are engineers. So really tech-oriented. We have already 250 customers, 270 now customers in many countries. But let's see what's going on. As you know, for every conference, you always have someone talking about the market. So just quick wording about the market. The blue line shows the impact and the growth year after year of the internet user. We all know that. But the most important point is that the traffic and the usage per internet user is growing even faster. And that is generating lots of issue. And that's where, below the iceberg, we start to have significant problems coming on. So, this problem, you can see it in France, in Luxembourg, but you see it all over the place. And even worse, in Asia. The previous conference was, let's go to US, let's go to US, let's go to US. I've opened a subsidiary in the US. Now my goal is go to Asia, because there is so much to do in Asia, which is even better than going to the US. But that was my personal point of view. So you see that this traffic is growing everywhere, and the growth of people is also growing everywhere. So if we talk a little bit about performance, 81% of the internet users stop watching a video if it buffers. I'm sure that all of you, as soon as you wait for the buffering or you're looking at a video, it stopped. You are part of this 81% who stopped watching a video. If we think about connected TV coming on, this is going to be even worse. The one who launched big numbers on the place for e-commerce was the e-commerce website for Amazon. He said 100 milliseconds lost at the back of his server is 1% of sales lost. 1 minute of outage for Amazon cost $50,000. Okay, so that's starting to be big numbers. And if we look to even local market or big market, any outage, any latency is becoming a problem. I was with Sony. They have an internal project, which is the -3 seconds project, which means that from every places in the world, they have to be below 3 seconds. And now they are already thinking about the -2 seconds. So that's part of the solution. When we talk about performance and the Earth, and we know that there is performance issue in some areas, and linked to our education, we think about countries. But if you think about network, that might be different. Lots of our customers who try to launch their site or their application in Brazil, they think, okay, I need to host my application in Miami because there is a big link between Miami and Brazil. The point is that everybody is doing it, so it's totally struggling. And what people forget is that, for example, Brazil is an ex-Portuguese colony, and there is a link there. And the point is that Portugal is not well connected with the rest of Europe, so that might not be the solution, but at least it's helpful to know that if you cannot host or use the application locally in Brazil, you can go to Portugal instead of going to Miami and be struggling. So if we think about, I like the idea, you may know the speed train called a TGV, and you see sometimes a big map showing that, you know, Lyon is much closer to Paris than Bordeaux, which is much further away, and it creates a strange map. And that we should do the same in real time for the health of the internet. So the solution in 2002 was, as you heard about, CDN, Content Delivery Network. You know, the idea is to photocopy the content in many, many places, but now the cloud is coming. Okay, usage-based contract, application, not only content, static content delivered. And if we look even at the biggest one called Akamai, which I know pretty well, we see that the market is growing, and when I started there, there were around 6,000 networks. Now we count around 32,000 networks, even 34,000 networks, if I look at the last statistics, which means that every day there is one new ISP, one new network, to be honest, 0.8 new ISP in the world, which is creating with eyeballs looking at the internet. This is creating such a complexity. So even the big one, like Akamai, they have a presence in 1,000 networks. So what do you do with the 33,000 other networks? Aren't they allowed to get access to good performance? They should, but it starts to be complex. You cannot be everywhere, and what we see is that the performance is changing. So the way we do it is that, to go into details, our goal is based on two pieces. First is a benchmark or a monitoring tool, which is transforming every end user, internet user, mobile user, as a monitoring agent. So what we do is we are adding a few JavaScript lines in the footer of the website from our customers. So 270 customers have this tag, this JavaScript in the website. And every time you are typing www.france2.fr, for example, or www.mozilla.fr, or MSNBC, or Disney, you are looking at the website, the page is loading, wait a few seconds, and then this JavaScript is waiting to ensure that it's not impacting the way you are browsing the website, and then it's testing every Amazon instance, Dublin, Tokyo, Singapore, every CDN, Akamai, Lamlight, Level 3, Gotendo, every data center, your data center for your application. By having this, we create a crowdsourcing information of the health of the internet. We are collecting 1.2 billion data per day, which makes 25,000 per second. So when we talk about big data, we start to know what we have some few stories about that. As soon as we have all those information, the data is cool. You can see how you perform from every network in the world. Oh, someone is yelling in Australia. What's happening now? What's happening on the community of data with all our customers? But the data is cool, but using the data to solve the problems, that's where we have fun, and that's where our business model is based. So let's take India, for example. If we take, if we take one provider, you see that this provider, you know, the internet is lots of peering, transit, CDN, cloud, application, access. You see that there are places it works well, the green color, places it works okay, the yellow color, and places it doesn't work at all, the red color. That's if you are using one provider, and no provider in the world can be good everywhere, every time for every of your end user. Which means that if you are using a second one, it's different. You know, they are connected differently. If you use Amazon in Tokyo and Amazon in Dublin, they are connected differently. If you use Azure in Dublin and Amazon in Dublin, they are also connected differently. And so if you are using a second one or a third one, at the end, our goal, to be clear, is to mix all of them, take the best of them in real time for every end user, and by mixing all of them, we improve the performance for the green piece, we reduce to its maximum the yellow piece, and of course we avoid any outage as much as possible. So, if we think about the number of networks, if we think about the countries, depending on the colors, you have different latency. As you know, you lose 60% of your audience as soon as the website is taking more than 3 seconds to load. So our thesis is to say, let's use, I would say maybe not 20 different cloud or 20 different CDN or 20 different data center, but at least use a mix of multiple provider, and you see that the map moved from multiple color to green, which means good performance. I'm going to show you 3 stories. First, cloud availability. And as Henri said, don't put your eggs in the same basket, all your eggs in the same basket. Second story will be about Azure and Amazon, and third story will be blend-in cloud. So here is Google App Engine, the 20th of May. Okay, you see that there are colors where it works well. So Groenland works well. I'm sure that there are not many end users. Maybe that's why the color is dark blue. And if you look in Russia or China, it's almost not usable. As soon as you are below 50 milliseconds, it's unusable. So that starts to be, you know, Australia is not able to access as a good performance on Google App Engine. If you look at the 21st, you see that there are 20, 21st, 20, 21st, you see that some colors are changing, okay? Because the internet is moving, because the peering are changing, because there is saturation everywhere. And 20 seconds, oof, that's bad. That means that everything crashed down. Okay, that's real data from real customers. You heard about outage, but as soon, again, if you put all your eggs in the same basket, this is the risk. So that's one first story, and one first conclusion is don't be vendor locked in and don't trust only on one provider. Second story is we all heard about Azure, we all heard about Amazon. Let's take a look and dive into the data. We just hired an archaeologist of data because we are generating so much data that we need to dive in it. So here you see Amazon EC2, Asia, Northeast, based in Tokyo. Below you see here is every countries on one day, and all the data you are used to have is average. As soon as you have average, you lose lots of information. So let's take the best performance, the blue line, the worst performance during the day, the red line, and the average, okay? By doing that, you see that if you are in Tokyo, South Korea is doing pretty good, where South Africa is the worst. So if you have audience in South Africa, forget about putting your application on Amazon in Tokyo. If you are doing it on US South, you see that the color are changing, and Brazil is doing pretty well. Normal, because it's hosted in São Paulo. If you look at US West, so based in Oregon, this is even funny because they are also taking into account The price is different in Oregon because the energy is way cheaper in Oregon. So again, you can take into account this information where to host your application. So if we take a conclusion here, if I have a global audience, where should I host my application? And the funny thing is, if you have audience in Australia, you see that you should be hosted in California. Why? Because there might be, for sure, a link which goes from Australia directly to California. First conclusion. And now let's imagine that you are using every instance of Amazon. I mean that your application is in Tokyo, Portland, Dublin, everywhere. And you mix all of them, which means that in real time, someone from Luxembourg can be routed to Dublin, or can be routed to Tokyo, or can be routed to Portland, based on performance. And you see that the performance is increased significantly, and the map is moving to green. That's our job. That's our promise. Let's do the same, maybe a little faster with Azure, and we have a booth, and you are welcome to come. We can do it with Joyen, GoGrid, Rackspace, any of the cloud that you are looking for. We are testing around 50 or 60 different cloud and CDN on the market. So Azure Asia Southeast, Europe West, doing a good job, and they are investing a lot. US South, and make a split. And here you see that Australia is better served from Asia South and East, which is in our mind more logical because the distance might be shorter. If you use every Azure instance, then you are able to move your application and improve your performance dramatically. When I mean dramatically, it's between 20% faster if it's local to 18 times faster. That's the best case we have. That means that your application is accessible 18 times faster. Okay, you can imagine that 100 milliseconds lost for Amazon is 1% of sales. If for Amazon you divide by 18 the time to load the page, well, you can imagine some significant impact. CDN, of course, we need also to talk about them. CloudFront, so the CDN from Amazon. Akamai, the biggest one, my ex-employee, and Lamlight. And if you mix, again, all of them, you move to the green line. Okay? It's clear? Perfect. So now let's move to the blending clouds. We took the US as an example, and it was just there, and we say, okay, who's the best cloud in the US in global? So the fastest cloud in the US is Amazon EC2 US East, based in, not in New York, in Virginia, exact. 1 point. If you take the second one is Vox Cloud, New York. So if you are using two types of cloud, how do you manage to do that? So the way you're going to do it is do round robin, one each. I send one internet user to US East, one internet user to Vox Cloud New York. If you use a third one, Rackspace is the number 4 in terms of performance in the US. Azure US North and Azure US South. You see that if you're looking for performance using multiple platforms, here you have more a disaster recovery solution, but you don't improve much performance. But Amazon came with a solution called Route 53. Route 53 is taking the best performance from the day before, which means that they say, yesterday, New York at Verizon was talking well with Amazon in Virginia. So let's fix, and today it will be the route. And Luxembourg talked yesterday very well with Amazon in Dublin. Let's fix the route, and that will be the decision that will be taken for today. If it's the data from today, the day before, sometimes it's the week before, but at least it's making some improvement. And you see that mixing the two of them, it's making a little improvement. But now, the idea is to use real-time data from a real end user and move every end user to the right platform in real time. And here is real data coming from real customers using the Cedexis solution. And you see that after 4 platforms, well, you don't make much improvement, but at least from doing round robin, switch one each, and using real-time data from real end user, you divide at least by 2 using multiple cloud. So more than security, more than availability, more than increasing your throughput, you are able to divide by more than 2 the time to load. So, what's the business impact? Because that's lots of data. Let's see for real case studies, real customers, what happened. First, that's an easy one using multi-CDN. It's called Euronews. You all know this TV station. You see that's this graph coming from Google Analytics, and you see the before-after effect. So Akamai is also already a pretty good provider. You see that there are places that works well, times some peaks, and you have three effects here. First is the, of course, improvement of performance. That's an easy one. Second, optimizing costs. As soon as you have multiple providers, it's easier to negotiate. That's their job. I'm not involved in that. But the one which is making me the most happy is that the performance is much more flat, which is helping a lot SEO. You know, when Google is crawling to the website, he needs to crawl a maximum of pages. So if you go faster and if you are regular in terms of performance, you improve your algorithm, so natural performance ranking. That's another one called Accor Hotel. As you may know, Accor Hotel, you have, of course, the hotels, but you are also booking rooms there. And if the content is cached, which means the same in every servers, that means that if all of us goes on Accor Hotel, we will all be in the same room. And if we sleep all in the same room, it can be a little messy. So we would avoid that. That's really full applications about how to book one room and a tunnel. If you look at solution which was using already a dynamic site acceleration solution, you see that in China, to load one page was 18 seconds. You mix a piece of Amazon, a piece of Azure, a piece of China Cache, a piece of China Ad Center, 2 data centers, you mix all of that, and you see that in China, you improve the performance by 14 seconds per page. Now we just made another trial and set up. Now we are able to go below 5 seconds for China. If you look at a platform which is hosted in France, you see that goes from 4.7 seconds to 3.2 seconds. So you save 1.5 seconds, which is, again, 100 milliseconds for Amazon is 1% of sales, 1.5 seconds for Accor. They do 40% of their revenue online, and their target is to go to 50% of their revenue online. Another example for Piaget, that's more for marketing people who are more used to talk to bounce rate. You know, that means that here the traffic, the audience increased by 25%. Thanks to, you go to Google, you click on Piaget, which is the luxury brand. You know, the watch are, I see some people here have watch at 100,000 euro. No? No? Even in Luxembourg, you don't have watch at 100,000 euro? Okay, well, I don't have watch. And here you see that the audience increased by 25%. The number of page view per user increased by 15%. And people, of course, since the website is fast, they spend more time on the site because they are looking at more pages. So more pages, more page view, more ads views, more product in a basket, more revenue. Another example, that's for video. You know, the buffering. If you have a buffering which is above 7 seconds, you lose almost all your audience. By reducing by 4 seconds, it has a significant improvement. When we talk about HD in the internet world, it's 3.5 megabit per second encoding rate. Well, it's 5.5 more HD video seen. That's also more revenue. We talk about something went wrong on the top side. We talk about multiple data centers, so that's multiple private cloud for an ad serving company. And you see that when they are switching one to another one, the time to send all the traffic to the other data centers takes less than 6 seconds. 6 seconds to be sure that your traffic goes from one end to another end is pretty significant. Finally, I will go to this again. Go back to Asia, by enabling a division by 17 the time to load the video, they multiply their audience by 6. So finally, what did we learn today? Single platform strategy is, I don't like the word dangerous, but I would say more risky. If you are using multi-cloud strategy, let's use multi-cloud strategy to achieve global audience or even local audience. And finally, use real-time data. That's the key. No data, no improvement. Thank you very much.
I will just ask a question. The example we saw are, I would say, customers that are very big companies. What about the SMB market? If I'm a small, medium company, do I need your products?
Well, it's always easier to show case studies on big brands. Everybody knows Mozilla, everybody knows Volkswagen, but as soon as your application is strategic for you or for your customers, you are a good target. I am meeting some VCs at that moment, and they are asking me, what's your target? Well, the top 10,000 website or application or mobile website per country. So that gives me a pretty big market. So of course, if I'm talking to Hermes, it's a big brand, but the traffic is very light. So in terms of revenue, I will not make as much revenue as MSNBC, for example. But since it's application as a service, so you can subscribe online, register online, you can do everything online. At some point you will call me because it's a little complex some point. So that way you can use it. So we have very small customers that are pretty unknown. And I think that without the cloud, Cedexis would not have been created. I remember when I started spending the money from the vacation from my kids, I had one guy in the US, one guy in Thailand. And Thailand, it's in 2 hours ride from Chiang Mai, north from Thailand. And he was asking me, well, I need that computer and with this capacity and etc. I look at the numbers, I look at the cost, and I had to send it via the post. Then it has to go there. I say, oh, yeah. It's going to cost me a lot of money, and I'm not sure that the server will ever arrive. So I gave him the credit card from the company, and he subscribed to an online service. And I still have on my wall at the office the first bill when we started Cedexis was $28. So thanks to the cloud, instead of sending a big server which will be used 10 hours per day, he used the cloud, and I had a bill of $28. And like I'm saying to my kids, when you get out of your room, switch off the light. I'm doing the same with him. I say, as soon as you are going to sleep, he's not sleeping a lot, but switch off the servers, and that way our costs are really optimum. And of course, thanks to that, we built our platform on the cloud. Peace Now is also on private cloud, and that way we have a mix of public and private cloud to build something which is scalable enough to avoid any DDoS attack, or to avoid, when we signed the Mozilla deal, I went to San Francisco, I was stressed. Mozilla is making so much traffic, I was dead stressed. And the capacity of the platform was at 1%. I said, if the capacity of the platform goes from 1% to 30%, I have no business. It's going to cost me so much amount of money that's never going to work. So I was there, we signed, we put online, and the platform went from 1% to 1.5%. Say, I have a good business now. And now we have happy customers on that.
Any question?
One of your objectives was in cost reduction. But you do not actually take a stake in that yourself, do you?
No.
Why not? Because that seems like a really attractive market.
To be honest, I thought about it. But I think first we built in the economy, numeric economy, in digital economy, something which is very healthy. Because we provide the data to the content provider. Okay, so the French TV, or they have the data, so they can see what they buy. Instead of buying black box, they see what's the impact on their end user. That's one thing. But we could say, keep the data for you and don't share it. But we thought about sharing this data with the CDN, with the cloud. Every week I have a phone call from the benchmark guy at Amazon asking me, well, someone in Korea said that we have poor performance. Give me the real data that you have from last week. Okay. So we give him the data, and thanks to the 1.2 billion data we have, and I think that instead of thinking that content provider and cloud or CDN or data centers, they are fighting one against each other, I think they are working together to improve performance. And by having multiple provider, let's share a story. I arrive, which is not often the case with French people, but I arrive 15 minutes earlier to a meeting. And I knock at the door at the French TV, and the guy was on the phone with level 3. And he said, well, level 3, this month you only took 30% of my traffic. Answer from level 3, what can I do to take more? More traffic, more revenue, more commissions. Everybody's happy. Let's go and dive into the data and look at the SFR ISP, which is 10% of my audience. Your sex. What is level 3 doing? Going back to the tech guys, improve the pre-hearing, add more server, do whatever you want, but I want this 10% more traffic. What happened is that the performance at the SFR ISP improved dramatically between level 3 and SFR. What happened? The next months, SFR took not 10% of this audience, but 8% of the audience from SFR, which improved the performance from the French TV. For the French TV, we improved the performance by 25%. That's 12.5 more revenue in terms of ads. Okay, that starts to make significant. If I'm taking a stack, piece of the stack of the revenue, I'm starting to be a stone in the shoe from the CDN, so or from the cloud. So the cloud, they have public price. So okay, for the moment we are a third party. I try to keep this. Of course, when I'm working with partners, I'm sending them sometimes more revenue than we make ourselves for the moment. But I think it's healthy for everybody.
So basically everybody can call you for this information.
I love to have friends.
Thank you.